Nice.
There we go.
Okay, great. Oh, and excellent. People coming in. Wonderful. Hello, everybody. Hello to all of those who are joining live. Okay, great. Oh, no, I'll have to shut that down. People are coming in. Wonderful. Hello, everybody. Oh, there we go.
Claire, you're Nova Scotia. Yay.
Excellent. Right then, we shall make a start. I shall press record. That would be good. And then I will do the introduction. Okay. So hello and welcome to season 7, the last few conversations of season 7 of the Mundane to Magical Online Summit series. My name is Louise Matson, and as always, I am truly blessed to be your host. Today, as I've just mentioned, we enter the final few days of this season, and I'm really excited to welcome back another much-loved speaker from last season, Margo Fraser. I absolutely love the synchronicity that shows itself so directly when I'm doing these summits. I was seriously at one point thinking that this season wouldn't go ahead at all, and then speakers started to book in their live slots, and all was well. But there was one space, and as always, I was waiting for divine guidance as to what to do, and then, as if by magic, Margo contacted me to state that she could join this season and booked into that one particular space that I had. These are the magic moments that when we are distracted by the outer goings on in the world, we can so easily miss or just see as a coincidence. And these are the magic moments that when we let our heads rule our actions, sometimes we don't even give the universe the space to create. So as always, all is perfect and in perfect timing. Now, many of you may remember Margo from last season, bringing through one aspect of her personal blend of magic, the elementals. And this season, Margo will be sharing another aspect, which is human design. Margo is a nature mystic and cosmic connector who is able to weave high vibration light messages into your being. She unmasks and releases the energetic wounds, triggers, and sabotaging beliefs, conscious and unconscious, that can have you running ragged, feeling off track, depleted, and confused about your purpose. She channels the celestial healing and revitalizing nature energies and essences in collaboration with divine beings. She is a certified intuitive strategist and master teacher with Alchemy Academy for the Soul, and is also a certified human design professional, trained through the International Human Design School in the deepest levels of this science of differentiation, to facilitate clients in understanding and embodying the magic of their own unique nature and becoming their own decision-making authorities. Margo is honored to facilitate empowering results with her clients, and as one client has described, words cannot describe the beauty I feel inside of me. Such openness and the fear has all gone away. I feel stronger, I feel carefree, I feel loved, and I love. Now that's a beautiful description of the work that Margo does, and so in tune with our conversation topic for today, which is your wiring for caring, decoding your design. How we care for ourselves and each other and our animals and our businesses is something where there can be a lot of conflict and upset, especially when our hardwiring doesn't quite match that which is being imprinted upon us by the outer reality. Society has certain expectations around how we care and what successful caring looks like. And we can often fall into the trap of wanting others to care for us the way that we care for them. But how are we actually designed to care? During this conversation, Margo will share that we do have specific ways of caring or not written into our genetic coding. Now, I've been on a journey of self-love for the last 6 years, which has taken me into several deep dives into my own blueprint in many different ways. Another beautiful example of synchronicity with this conversation, and how I know that this is just perfect for this time, is that I was recently drawn to explore what is hidden in my human design chart again. And I gained new awareness around my chart and certain aspects of that, although I am no expert in it. But this has all given me greater understanding and therefore greater compassion for myself and where I'm currently at on my journey. I'm therefore particularly excited for this conversation as I lay myself bare, my chart bare, as a working example for me to gain an even greater awareness of this aspect of myself. So it's my absolute pleasure and honour to welcome you back to the show, Margo.
Yeah, hi Louise. Hi everyone. Excited to be here. And yes, it was just synchronicity how it all lined up. I was saying to Louise, I just finished this program on intimacy and sexuality, and now I'm going to move to the caring side. And if that's something, that would work for your show, I'd love to share it. So yeah. And then I didn't know all this was going on with you. So how perfect, right? Wow.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't cease to amaze me how many synchronicities and how quickly they're coming to us recently, especially it all seems very accelerated, but it's when we open up into that space that we actually allow that energy to come into our field and then everything just unfolds beautifully. And so moving into that beautiful unfoldment into this, wiring for caring and decoding our chart and our design in that way. I honestly, I don't know much about unraveling my chart. I literally am just kind of starting again to dip my toe in. And as we were saying beforehand, some people get things and they just soak it up and absorb it. For me, it's like I read it and I understand it, and then it's like, and it's like, what did that bit mean again?
Yeah. Well, I looked at that in your design, and your mind actually is designed to filter out what you don't need right now. So yeah. It'll just be like, and then later on when you need it, you'll go back and can take
Yeah,
it in. So
absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. And this side of caring, wow, I mean, there can just be so much upset around caring, in relationship, and we look out in the world and we kind of judge how people are caring. And it was so funny. I even went on to the Google and just said caring quotes to see what would come up, right? And then you see within the quotes like all these different dynamics of how we're supposed to care for each other and what that's supposed to look like, as if there's only one way for caring. And yet we are here to be individuals. We are here to be differentiated, to be our own unique part of the allness, the wholeness, our own unique puzzle piece. So yeah, we kind of have to shift out of that. And I think that's where the beauty of human design can really come in and support people in this understanding of what truly is your wiring. And you can also see in the chart where people get pulled into what we call the not self or the shadow self, where those key places can be in the chart. And I think it's always a good exercise for people, even to start off this, is just to contemplate through this, like, what is caring to you? What have you learned about caring? What are the messages that you've gotten through society, through your family, through different relationships that you've been in? And so kind of just have that in the back of your mind and roll that around a bit. Some of what I say today may shock some people a little bit. Some may be upsetting. I may piss some people off. But just be open to take it in. I know if you're here, you really are on this spiritual journey. You really are wanting to live as yourself. And ultimately, Louise, like you were saying, this is about bringing compassion to ourselves and to others. And it doesn't mean if someone doesn't have the same wiring as you, because no one does, even twins have a little bit of a difference there, that you can't be in relationship. There's so many places in the chart where we can come into relationship, and even knowing, say, a partner or a child's wiring doesn't mean that everything's going to be smooth and easy. We all have our shadow sides. But again, we can bring more understanding, kind of catch ourselves, right? Bring into awareness, whoa, I'm playing out a trigger there. I'm playing out some conditioning from my parents or from society or something, from a past life or something from my ancestors that was brought through my DNA, and start bringing that into an awareness. And then, okay, I see that little aspect now. And then we can do the healing work on that aspect so we can live more and more as ourselves, and yeah, bring more compassion to others. So maybe I can say what caring isn't to start.
Yeah, one thing that's just coming through from what you've just said is as well, it's like when you have that greater understanding of how, if you like, you are hardwired, how you've kind of come in this incarnation to be and to express yourself, then it's beautiful to kind of connect in with that. You know, my truth is not your truth, but it's equal. My
Mhm.
way is not necessarily your way, but neither of us is wrong. We're just different. And so if you are in a relationship with somebody who has something, you know, completely different to a way that your true expression is, then it's just that beautiful navigation of that process of honoring the differences, honoring, you know, who we are, and honoring who they are, and not needing to be the same, not needing to be this complete mirror of each other. And I think that's one of the key aspects, is particularly, you know, what we've been seeing in the world around us. It's like my truth may be different to your truth, but, you know, neither of us is wrong in our truth. And it's allowing us all to kind of come together, but from that individual perspective as well as a collective. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, I
Exactly.
mean, if you want to go into what not caring.
Yeah. So I want to kind of pull from the intimacy side, because we have two genetic imperatives, right? Our genes have a voice, and one of the voices they have is make more. Right? Make more of us, right? So, and you'll see that in some people, it's like, I have to have children, right? Male or female, doesn't matter. Like, they have to have children. It's such a strong drive, and the genes push us for that. They push us to bond with each other. And on that side of things, the genes themselves don't really care who. It's looking for difference, right? I want someone who's different enough from me that maximizes genetic potential in our gene pool. And so our intimacy side is very much connected to our emotions, and I'll go into that. I'll even show it, the wiring for it, a little bit later. So it's where, like, it pulls us in, if you're tribal, into the cuddling, into the touch. If you're individual, pulls you into the romance, you know, whatever that is, because it's very individual. If you're collective on that side, it's experiential. It pulls you into a new experiences, trying things in different ways. And so we kind of have these three different ways of generating intimacy with each other, again, depending on how you're wired. And then the genes underneath going, make more, make more, make more. And so what happens is, because we are emotional beings, it gets projected onto the caring side, right? There can be a lot of emotion around whether how someone's caring for us or not. But caring, this is the genetic imperative for survival. This is what is at the root of caring, right? We made more. Now we got to look after them. It's about 7 years. You know, if you look at social studies, you know, we got to look after our children for at least 7 years. In human design, they're not actually, they're still children until about 30. So that may explain some things. And then when they go through their Saturn return around age 28 to 30, they move into their youth, per se. But yeah, if you can kind of start thinking now, yeah, you know, caring at its root is us surviving as individuals and surviving as a species.
Mm.
And ultimately, it can be what allows the relationship to survive, the business to survive, you know, supporting our animals and surviving, or our plants and surviving, our businesses. Yeah. So we can apply it in many different ways, but this is the root of it. And so, where on the intimacy side, yeah, it's all the touch and the romance, the passion, the experiential side. This side, the caring side of the chart, the gates and the characteristics that are associated, it's very much associated with our immune system. The
Right.
splenic center, human design, which is our immune system. So it's about our health, our well-being, our survival, our lymphatic system, you know, that's always out there. Like, is this healthy for me or not? Is this healthy for me or not? Right. And that, again, you know, our immune system is all about our survival, and it operates in the moment, right? Moment to moment. Emotions, they go up and down, and 50% of people are designed to be emotional, and 50% are designed to take in and amplify other people's emotions. So it makes the world pretty emotional, right? Especially if you don't realize that, hey, wait a minute, those emotions aren't mine, that 50%. And so, yeah, we see this if you watch animals, right? They are splenically defined. They don't have the emotional side. We project emotions onto them. And what they're experiencing as emotional, but they're operating moment to moment, right? Healthy for me, not healthy for me. Healthy for me, not healthy for me. And so this creates one of the dilemmas right away in terms of caring. The intimacy side, we call it the hot side, intimacy and sex, right? This is emotional. This is hot. This is again, where we can find the passion and the romance and the cuddling and the touchiness and that type of thing, having the experiences. And now we move on to the splenic side, to the survival side, which is the logic side of the collective, not the experiential side, right? This is the logic side. What are the patterns that are going to carry us into the future? So that has a big impact on what's happening here. The splenic center is also the root of our intelligence, our body's intelligence, our instinct, our intuition, our taste for whether something's correct for us or not. Doing those experiments on the logic side. And so, I mean, we'd be dead as a species if we were only emotional with no splenic side, right? Oh, what happens if we jump off a cliff? It'll be okay, right? No splenic center to go, wait, that's a bad idea. Don't do that, right? This is dangerous. So there's a beautiful marriage within us of these systems. It really is beautiful. And when we come into alignment and understanding of that, then that acceptance that you were talking about before, that compassion for the other, understanding the different dilemmas that are out there, that, because there's expectations on the emotional side, because it has that abstract circuitry, we project those expectations onto caring. I expect you to care for me this way. If you're physically attracted to me, which is the intimacy side, then I expect you should care for me. And you should care for me in the way I expect you to care for me.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever experienced that.
Right. And so we can all see, and this is where we got to bring compassion to ourselves, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. And the emotions get involved. And also the mind, the not self or shadow mind jumps in and gets involved as well. So the emotional side, the intimacy side, we call that more the hot side, and the splenic side a little bit more cool, because it is that survival. You can't be swayed by all the emotions in order to survive. And so buying someone flowers ultimately, for example, is not what caring's about. But the emotional side and the not self-mind side, which loves to compare, it loves to measure. That's what our minds do so well, right? But caring isn't something to be measured against something else, right? We just have a way, moment to moment, that's mechanical within us, that we're designed for, that supports us or our family or our community or business or our plants, our animals, the collective in surviving. And some people's charts are really geared to one way, and some people's charts are very complex and have a mixture of the different ways of caring. And neither side hooks up to the mind. So this is a dilemma too, because the mind wants to be involved. It wants to be in charge of everything. Again, it wants to compare, it wants to measure, it wants to say how you should do things and what's right and what's not, and make its lists of pros and cons. But I'll show you guys the slide of the circuitry later, and it does not connect to the mind. So again, this is where we can have these dilemmas, because the mind's grabbing on to a way that it thinks we're supposed to be caring so that we don't get judged by other people, right? So we don't get in trouble, so we don't get punished. And it takes us out of being ourselves. And so what really brings that grace to relationships is that acceptance, right? I mean, isn't that what we all want, right? Just to be accepted for who we are, to live what we are. And when you understand your wiring and another's wiring and see the limitations of that wiring, you can really come into acceptance of that, and how beautiful is that? That awareness allows that acceptance to occur. You might find out it's not the right person for you, right? But it's not a bargain. Acceptance isn't a bargain, right? Oh, if you do this for me, I'll accept you.
Yeah.
Right? It's, I see you. I see your wiring. I see how you are genetically wired. There's no choice here. We like to all think, we have a choice and everything, but your imprint, you don't choose that. It's what you're born into. And it's just living it and expressing it. And it will lead you to live out your purpose here. And you don't have to be anything other than that, which is like,
yeah, I mean,
relief, right?
one of the statements that I actually really love from my ex-partner was his amazement that no matter what I've been through in previous relationships, I have the capacity to throw myself all in. Whereas a lot of people are very guarded, they go into a relationship and they're quite protective of their self. If I've made that commitment, so I'll be interesting what my chart says. If I've made that commitment, it's like that's it. I'm there, and I've always said, well, I can't be anything else. I don't know how to be anything else, and that to me is like, if you are kind of living your wiring, because it's just the way I am. It's just the way that I have been. So, but I do appreciate where the head gets involved and tries to dictate how we behave in terms of the caring roles that we have, or the intimate roles that we have and things like that, and try and kind of look at how people are doing it. Oh, right, that's how I'm supposed to do it, as it were. So yes, I'm a little bit scared about what my chart is saying. But it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that's the mind, right? Like, oh no.
But again, it comes down to that absolute self-acceptance. It's like, this is if I'm going to live my authentic self, and it is that absolutely unconditionally loving yourself, then it comes from that greater understanding. It comes from that greater awareness of actually what is my truth, and it may not be how I think I'm supposed to be, or how I've been imprinted upon to state how we're supposed to be, and it may not be how my partner is or how my family is, but it's my way of doing it. And it's like, when we can get comfortable with that, then it's, for me, I've experienced that it is such a more peaceful place to be for me in my life, when we can get comfortable with ourselves and how we are and who we are.
Yeah, exactly. And what the mind likes to do is, the not self mind, like when I show you a chart and you guys get a feel for it, is it looks at what you are and goes, yeah. And then it looks at what you're not, all the openness in the chart. Oh my God, I need to be that. I need to be that to be whole. Right? And so it's going after that. But that's just where the wisdom's coming in for you. It's where you get to learn. It's where you get to take in and kind of experience it. But it's not your I am. It's not your, you. And so it's often a relief for people to go through. I mean, I know we're talking caring here, but in a foundation reading, when I give them the overview of their whole chart, oh my gosh, I don't have to be that. I don't have to prove myself. I don't have to avoid conflict and confrontation. Oh, I don't have to be certain about anything, so it just starts that releasing process so that you can step in a deeper way into being yourself. And in human design, everything comes back to what we call strategy and authority. So each of us have built into us a way to reduce resistance in life based on our auric type, and a way to make decisions based on our wiring that, again, has nothing to do with the mind. So, can you accept something in another? Can you care for that person in your own way, according to how you're wired? That's what your strategy and authority is going to tell you, right? And it's not an absolute, it's not perfect. It doesn't mean there's not going to be conflict and things that have to be worked out, but that not mind, getting the mind out of the way, and that decision-making authority you have within you, once you connect with it, it's just guiding you through life again, and helps to reduce that resistance. So ultimately, because I always get asked the question then, well, how am I going to know if this person is right for me? Yeah, it's going to come down to your strategy and authority, right? What response are you getting? If you're a generator, most of the example charts we have here today are generators. Or what does the splenic center, what information is it giving you? Or your willpower center, or however it is that your specific design comes through. So yeah, maybe anything you want to say, maybe we can talk about the different types of caring, just to give people a kind of an overview of that.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying to you before, I've looked at human design. I've dipped in and come out of it, dipped in and come out of it so many times. I look at that chart and my immediate is, oh my God, what does any of that mean? But I do know from the many times that I have tried to dip into it that there are certain different types and certain, that we are grouped, as it were, in terms of what is defined or what isn't defined within the chart, and where our authority lies and things like that. So if you wanted to go through kind of a general overview of if someone were to look at a chart, where would they be looking at in terms of the kind of the caring aspects, and then also
what I'll do is I've got some slides prepared, so maybe I'll talk about the different types of caring, and then I can move to the slides, and then I can kind of give you guys an overview, if you've never seen a chart before, just a brief capture of what it's like, and then we can start moving into the
and if you have never seen the chart before, don't worry.
Don't worry.
Just look at it and go,
I'm your interpreter here. Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about that. So we're on the intimacy side. There's kind of three different streams. There's the tribal, that touchy side. There's the individual, which is the romance, the passion, but also can be fickle, love me not. There's the experiential side, which the tribe doesn't like too much, because they're the ones who are like, it's very taboo. The experience might be having a lot of partners. Who knows what it's going to be? Trying lots of different positions. We wouldn't have the Kama Sutra if it wasn't for the experiential side. It's really finding all different ways to do one thing, to have that breadth. But on the caring side, we have 5 different ways of caring that are shown in our chart. And one of them is self-caring. It's very much about self-empowerment, being self-empowered to care for themselves alone. It is self-caring. It's individual. And so, this is someone who could be really sick, but they still can't allow anyone to care for them. And only certain people can do it. There's only, there's a certain couple of gates in a chart that if people have that, they can kind of pull the attention of someone who's self-absorbed in caring for themselves into caring for another. But otherwise, they are designed to be self-absorbed in caring for themselves. And so, I hear a lot of times, narcissist, and there's a very specific definition for that. It has to do with the ego and so on. But I'm starting to see a lot of people refer to those who are self-absorbed in themselves as narcissistic. But if it's in their design, they're actually wired to be that way. And we can't fault them for that. It can be a real gift to know how to care for oneself. We can learn from them. And the individuals they are the ones that can bring through something new for us in the way that we care. And it's rooted in self-love. And self-love is not about anyone else. Right? It's about the self. And so I have, there's a funny story. One of my colleagues, he's splenically defined in his chart. So it's just in the moment, right? He just gets like an impulse if there's danger and he just reacts on it. There's no thought. The mind's not involved with this. It's the splenic awareness. And so he was out biking with his wife and I think it was daughter, one of his kids anyways. And all of a sudden a thunderstorm came in and lightning, all of a sudden he just took off like a shot to the nearest shelter, right? And then eventually his wife and his other drench come up and like, what was that all about? You just left us there. But that's being splenic. The right thing to do is follow him. Because his splenic center, man, it is going to guide him to the right place to avoid the danger. And again, it's not personal. It really is. This is how their wiring is. They can still be empathetic, but it's going to be looking after themselves and being self-absorbed in that. But they often spend their lives being told they don't care. You don't care about me. And people can feel it because these frequencies are in our auras. And they can't do anything about that frequency of not caring for others in their aura, right? And so there's kind of this subconscious, like people feel it. And you don't care about me, and they make them feel guilty. And then those people will be, trying to conform to that, and they never can, right? Because they're not wired for it, doing the best they can. And then they'll get hit with, oh, you're so inauthentic, right? Like you can't win, sometimes with that. But again, there will be certain people it's gates 28 and 38 for those who know human design that can pull those people into caring for another in a certain situation and allowing the other to care for them. Otherwise, it's pretty much, let me just do my thing. Let me be self-absorbed in my own caring for their own survival. And they'll either do it really well, but if they've kind of been beaten up over life, these can also be people who don't do it well at all, or really struggling in life because they've just been kind of beaten down. It's like, what do I know about caring in any way? So that's the first one. Into individual caring. So this is also individual. It's intuitive caring. It's very acoustic. It operates again in the now through this knowing that comes in a pulse. I call this crisis caring. Individuals, if you're individually wired, you're not here to be interfered with, right? You're here to bring through mutation. You're here to bring through change. And it'll just happen when it's supposed to happen. There's nothing you actually have to do about it. It'll just come through. And so people with this individual wiring, again, they always want to maintain their individuality. So they're going to be very guarded, very resistant to anything that looks like they're trying to be controlled or trying to be organized by someone else, right? That's not going to work for them. Individuals, they're a little bit weird. They're a little bit odd, a little bit freaky. They're different. They're meant to be different. And when you're different, you attract attention on one side, and yet you don't want to be interfered with on the other side. And they're just constantly through the acoustics, in the now, healthy for me or not, healthy for me or not, healthy for me or not. And so they're very attuned acoustically. So they're the ones who can really hear, is that child's cry just looking for attention, or are they really in trouble, right? They hear something in the voice. It's in the pitch, the quality, the tone of the voice. And when it's a true crisis, when there's something going on there, they will be there for you. And they will be there for you until that crisis is over. And then they're back to being their individual selves again. So again, this is one where they can kind of get into trouble. I mean, you have someone tribal that's always wants to bring them, let me bring you soup, let me tuck you in, let me care for you. And they're like, get away from me. Don't you think I can look after myself? Right, that's how it's going to be taken. And sometimes, again, they, until the pulse comes through, then they might move into caring, or they'll accept caring from someone else, again, if it's in a crisis situation. But this would be someone like, they're standing on the curb and they're ready to step in, and a car's coming, and you see that and you pull them back, and they're like, what'd you do that for? Didn't you think I saw the car coming? Even if they didn't see the car coming. And it's like, if they got hit, then, it's a crisis. Now I'll let you care for me. But otherwise, leave me alone. So this is the individual circuitry. And so the next one is collective caring. So I mentioned on the sex side, the intimacy side, it's experiential. On this side, it's the logic side. It's about trying to perfect that pattern to support humanity in the best way possible. It is, these are people who are always going to be sharing their experiments and what they found out and so on. The patterns that they see, what's not working out there, but it's impersonal, right? It's a very critical, judgmental kind of circuitry, but it's supposed to be. It has to look at the patterns out there and say, hey, this isn't working for us as a global village. Something needs to change here. And can really see it. And then just depending on the wiring, may be able to bring through the solutions or not. Some people are just here to identify, what's wrong. It can be very irritating, right? Because they don't have the solutions. You're on the other end of it. But again, it's impersonal, but we take it personally. And one of the reasons that it gets really mucky is that when you're doing your experiments, right, when you're trying to figure out what's going on and you enlist someone in your experiment, that seems personal, right? Hey, could you try this out? Or would you be involved in this experiment? Let's see if this works or not, right? We just went through this. We're still going through it with COVID, right? This is the vaccination thing. What do we think is good for the collective? People agree with it or not agree with it, doesn't matter, but the collective is impersonal. It doesn't care about the individual.
Yeah.
Right? It's about what makes sense what's the pattern? I shouldn't say makes sense, because that's the experiential side. What's the pattern that's going to carry us into the future so we can survive as a species? So humanity can survive. What's going to give us the best chance of it? And if there's some individuals that fall by the wayside, well, it's not personal. And it really isn't. It really isn't, right? So something might work for, 80% of the population, 20% it doesn't, but, hey, for most of humanity, this is what seems to be working for us. And so it's a perfectionist. Wow. This is the not self mind can really drive the perfectionist persona here because they always want to perfect the pattern. The experiment can always go deeper and deeper and deeper. We can get better and better and better. So yeah, again, it's where we can take it personally, but it's not. It really is about helping humanity in the best way that they're able to. And then we move to the tribal. The tribal's instinctive caring. The tribe's also about mutual support. This is what we've known. This has been the background frequency since 1615. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I do this for you. I'll look after you now. And if I have a problem later on, you look after me then, right? This is often what we think caring is. This is a social life. This is even in business, the cool business side. On the caring side, it's very entrepreneurial. How do we maintain the infrastructure of society? What do we have to have in place, right, to keep this community humming along and improving and continuing to evolve? And so here, what's interesting about the tribal is that this part of it, the instinctive caring, doesn't have a voice. The other channels have a way to get up to the throat center to express themselves, and this ends in the ego center in human design, because it takes a lot of ego, a lot of willpower to be able to, do this mutual sharing and have the correct bargains and all this kind of stuff. But it can't communicate. And boy, this creates issues in relationships. It doesn't communicate. It doesn't have that voice. And so it's like it's under the surface there, but it's very difficult to express. And because it's related to willpower too, there's also an instinct here for I can't care right now. I don't have the right resources, because the tribe's about getting enough resources for things. And if I don't have the right resources, I can't care for you. I can't even care for myself.
Yeah.
And so there can also be some denial there, right? I don't have the power to do this right now. It needs to rest sometimes as well. So yeah, has the energy sometimes, but just for short periods of time. Yeah. And then the ego carrying, this is just one channel. It's the voice of the tribe. It's like the king, queen, the monarch. It's about really, as a tribe, as a community, this is the voice of the we. And you'll hear this with monarchs, right? You hear the queen always, we, da 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 da. We, she doesn't say I ever, right? We are, we have, we don't have. And this is really where energy and matter is exchanged, right? I give you my energy, I get this resource, money, things, whatever it might be, right? So there's this currency exchange that goes on. This channel is called the money line for a reason. So, but this is also where we can voice what our community needs. That monarch can say, we have, we don't have, we need to educate. It's very much about education. And the other half is like the president, like pulling all the resources together, really controlling the organization, say in a business sense, and so on. So it can be very territorial, very possessive, but this is the tribe. Hey, if you're tribal, you don't care about being possessed. It's okay. I get this, you get that. No problem. Right? So again, so these are the different types of carrying. So you can see how complex and how many dilemmas there can be between these. And again, where we take things personally and they're really not meant to be.
One of the interesting things actually that was coming up for me as you were going through those different types is I could relate to a number of them as well. So it's like, yes, we're kind of like hardwired to be a certain way, but we're part of the all that is. So there is an aspect that we can probably kind of relate or see some of the other aspects to a greater or lesser degree. And I guess that kind of could muddy the waters in terms of if you weren't aware of your own specific way of being, you could kind of go, oh, because I can relate to that. And you're trying to meld yourself into that way of being, which actually might not be your way of being. So yeah. I've just found that really interesting. That was coming through for me because the first three, very individual ones, I was like, yep, I can be like that. But I also believe it has a lot to do with how we're brought up and the kind of, the backgrounds that we come from and our life experiences. Because I mean, I come from a very scientific background, very logical background. Now, my hardwiring might not be that way, but my life experience.
Yes, it is.
Is it? Oh, okay.
It is. Yeah.
But it's like, that, my life has been that way. I've gone down career paths that have been that way. In fact, I love logic. I love logic. When I did computer studies and I built computers and things, logic gates, yeah, I get that. Human design pattern is just like a completely different language to me. If it was like in a logic gate system, I'd be like, yep, I totally get that.
Exactly. So yeah, I think maybe we should switch over to the slides now and I can talk more specifically, tell you guys a little bit about. So let's see if I can get this all running properly here. Okay, so I got to share my screen. I want to share screen too. Let's see if that works.
Yep, that looks fine.
Okay, good. So yeah, this on the right, this is what a body graph looks like. This is a map of the genetic energetic wiring. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview, and then we'll delve into the chart examples. So human design pulls from a number of different systems. The man Ra Uru, who received this download in the mid 80s. It was an 8-day experience, all day, all night. Not fun to be like doing all this writing and what's going on here. And it pulls from the Hindu chakra system, it pulls from the Jewish Kabbalah, it pulls from astrology, it pulls from the Chinese I Ching, it pulls from quantum physics, but yet it's not exactly any of those. It's a synthesis of all of those things together. And one of the pieces of information that was received was that in 1781, we actually mutated from the 7-centered chakra system to being 9-centered beings. And so that's why you see 9 centers, 9 geometric shapes here. And each of those centers have different characteristics and qualities. Some are similar to the chakra system, and others are very, very different. And so we have 3 different awareness centers. So we have the splenic awareness, this triangle on the left, and that's what I was just talking about. That's associated with our caring, our survival, our health, our well-being, our immune system. We have the Ajna center, which is our mental awareness, kind of operating over all time, right? It remembers stuff from the past and it projects into the future and all sorts of things. And then we've got our emotional awareness, the triangle on the left. And so they kind of all point into the center there. Now, the difficulty with the emotional center, this is our solar plexus center in human design, is that it's also a motor that generates energy. And so often the emotional intelligence is drowned out by how loud the motor is, by that anger or frustration or joy or whatever it might be, makes it difficult to access the potential of the intelligence that's there. We've got 4 motors altogether generating energy. The red square in this one, second from the bottom, this is the sacral center. This is what generates life force energy. It's associated biologically with our reproductive organs. It's about vitality. 70% of people have this defined. We're pumping out life force energy. We need that many people pumping it out. Mammals have a sacral center as well, so they're contributing. And 30% of people don't have this defined. They take in and amplify from others. I mentioned the solar plexus is a motor. The root is another motor. It's a pressure center in human design. It's the pressure to do. It's associated with the adrenal. So its fuel is stress and that adrenaline, right? Do. Get out there and, it's that drive to get something done, but it's not aware. It's just a pressure. And then we've got the ego center, which does have a relationship. It is part of the carrying circuitry on the tribal side. But the heart center in human design is not the love center. It's the willpower center. It's a motor that generates willpower. Only 35% of people have it defined. Now think about what society says. Get out there, make it happen, push through things. You can do it, right? Yeah, 65% of people, not designed to prove themselves. This is the root of unworthiness in society, because everybody thinks they do. This is my chart, actually. So I have it defined. I have every gate in it defined. Got lots of willpower. If you come into my aura, you're going to think you're Superwoman or Superman. And then you might make all sorts of promises to me about, I ask you something, you make all these promises, and then you leave my aura and you're like, why did I say yes to that? Why did I promise that? So your self-esteem would take a hit. I would get disappointed because you wouldn't be able to get it done. Okay, so this is one of the dilemmas out there. So 4 motors, then we've got the G center, this yellow diamond in the center. This is the center for love, identity, direction in life. the throat center for manifestation and communication, and the head center at the top, which is another pressure center, but not motorized. So it's the pressure to think. Thank goodness it's not motorized. Wow. It's inspirational, and it's only defined in about, when I say defined, it's turned on consistently and reliably. It'll be colored in on your chart if you have a chart. And it's, yeah, only 30% of people have it defined. So 30% of people have a built-in way to inspire themselves. And otherwise, they also support other people with their inspiring to others in that way. So we're in this pressure sandwich, the pressure to do from below, the pressure to think from above, and then all this stuff in the middle. So like I said before, your mind will look at what you are, everything that's defined or colored in your chart. It means it's consistent and reliable for you, and say, yeah, okay. And then it looks at all the white stuff and goes, oh my God, I need to be that. I can pull you into the not self then. You'll see that there's a black side and a red side. So human design, you have two imprints that are kind of in this forced marriage. The black represents the consciousness, the personality, who you think you are. The red is your subconscious. It's unconscious to you, although you can become aware of it, observe it. It has to do with your body-brain system as well. And so in a chart, like here, I've got at the top a full black channel that's fully conscious to me. I think I'm my mind. Making sense of things as part of the abstract circuitry, right? But I got all this other stuff down here that's either red or red and black, but my mind doesn't really think that exists. You're not emotional. What are you talking about? Goodness. So yeah, it's pretty interesting the way that you see it all come together, and yet all of these things are mine. So we get 13 gates, these are called. There's 64 gates altogether, and they're distributed. They never change where these gates are, these numbers are, and these are genetic characteristics that you have. And those characteristics that you have subdivisions that give you a finer and finer sense of what they are. So when you see this 47.4, that means 47 line 4, subdivision 4. That means something. Okay, it gives me a finer degree of what that gate is about, or what that characteristic or trait that I've been genetically endowed with, how it operates.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, it's part of what we really want to move to is having this beautiful alignment, acceptance of the body side by the mind. The mind is really here just to be the passenger, sit back, take it in, where the body gets led to, our decision-making authority. Everyone who has the solar or the sacral center defined is a type called a generator or manifesting generator. The manifesting generators, like me, it just means there's a motor that has a path to the throat as well as the sacral defined. And then there's 3 other types that do not have that sacral center defined. And where you're open, you take in, as I mentioned before, from the others. So if someone comes into my field that has the splenic center defined, I take in and I amplify. But otherwise, my ability to survive, to stay healthy, to understand what I need to survive is inconsistent. That's a white center for me. It's not reliable. I learn about health and well-being through other people or the transit field coming in. I take in other people's pressure and I amplify it. Why can I get things done? My not self says, get this done, right? Now I recognize that, whoa, wait a minute, that's not my pressure. Wait, I'm not feeling good. Oh, that's not me that's not feeling good, that's them, right? You start to distinguish, and this is where the wisdom comes in. I have a lot of definition. Other people have very little things colored in. They're really receivers of energy, right? I transmit out a lot, and I have very specific areas where I'm receiving. But all these other white channels in here, I'm receiving there too, right? So that's kind of the basic overview of what a chart offers to you. So let me Here we go. So if we look at the wiring, this is the one side I've just mentioned it more to contrast here. The wiring for intimacy and sex, the tribal circuitry, the individual circuitry in the middle, and the collective experiential on the outside. No mind there. It's all down in the body. And here's the wiring for caring. And the genetic imperative, why it's in red here, the 59.6, this is the genetic imperative to be intimate. It's like a little Hoover in your aura. It pulls people into intimacy with you. The 5027 is the genetic imperative to care. And everybody, whether this is defined or not in their chart, has a role in caring. This also generates a specific aura when you have it that has, it really engenders trust in the others. You can really operate one to many. It's like the herding. It pulls people in, and animals, this is their channel of mating. It can kind of herd people and bring them together, and they can move into trust with you. Again, no mind here. Right? So it's just something to note with this. So should we go through yours?
Oh, go on then.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give, I had some people that were generous enough to give me their birth information. And I'm just going to look at that channel 2750, their genetic imperative for caring. But I'm going to give a little bit more of a full information for Louise, so you get an idea for those that want to do the program with me, that what kind of information you're going to be receiving here. So I always let people know what their strategy and their authority is, because again, all this information isn't going to matter if you don't understand how to make decisions about who do I care for or not. So you're a generator. You've got that sacral center defined. So what that means as a strategy is you need to wait to respond. And that's what your aura does. You have an aura that actually responds to life. It's supporting you. It's like an amoeba. Woo, something out there to respond to or not. And there's, always things to respond to, right? Someone asks you a question, the plants are wilting, the phone rings, the weather forecast, whatever it might be. So never a shortage there. Generators are always busy with something. And you've got an undefined solar plexus center. So you take in other people's emotions. So your sacral center is your authority as well. And your sacral center gives a uh-huh or to life. Might come right out of your voice like that. It might feel like a pull forward. It might be like for me, it's like a rising up and pulling forward in my belly. So it's just determining for you, what is that? What is your sacral response? And it's a yes, no response. And when it gives you a yes, what it's saying is, yes, I have the energy for it, because this is the workhorse center, right? Keep generators are here to work. And it's aligned with my design. That's what the yes is saying, right? So if you get a yeah, that's a no. Hesitation is a no. Only a yes is a yes. That makes it easy. Everything else is a no. So it helps you to be efficient with your energy in what to say yes to, where the mind be, oh, but just do it, just do it. No, yeah, mind likes to make up things. Okay, so you have the channel, the 5027 here. So you have that in your aura that engenders trust in you. You can kind of pull a group together. And there's this natural, trusting and guardianship and custodianship that comes through your aura, this natural caring that's there. And so your availability for caring is what your sacral center tells you. And since it's defined, it means, consistently and reliably. The power might not always be there because it needs to regenerate at night and sometimes longer. But you have an awareness of whether it's a yes for you or not, consistent and reliably. Can I care for this or not? And you have the defined splenic center on the other side. So again, consistent and reliable in the moment. Is this healthy for me or not? You have a defined way, a fixed way that you can tell if something's healthy for you or not. And so here, in the caring gates, not only is your availability consistent and reliable, but we can also look at these gates and say, what are the conditions for your availability for caring? Okay. So the 14 here says, yeah, I'm available if I can use my power skills, my individual resources, if I can bring that to the table, yep, and they can be used properly, I'm available to care. This one is quite strong in your chart. The 9 down here says, I'm available when I have the freedom to take care of all the details involved, part of the logic circuitry. And then the 27 here, you've got the this is the caring gate. This is the gate of caring. So it's looking at the 50, which is about the values, and I'm available if the values are correct.
Yeah.
Right. So those are the things that would be involved. The 14, though, bringing your power skills to it is the strongest one around your availability here. This channel of preservation, this is the heart and core of caring, of the laws, the values that are established for caring. Again, it's like the shepherd channel. It kind of can make contact with the whole group in order to care for them. So this one to many. You can be very good in groups, actually in larger groups, kind of 9 to 16. And there's a certain kind of leadership quality in your caring that comes through when you have this full channel. Because 50 is the root of intelligence, you need to have a intelligent work. That's going to be really important for you. Right? Being around intelligent people, reading intelligent things. Yep, intelligence is going to be really important. And you'll only be happy if you have an intelligent job, a job where you can use that intelligence and it brings it through. Again, this aura that engenders trust. This is a tribal channel, so that mutual support is going to be important here in caring. And the 27, you have the first gate here, which is, we look at the profile, your sun earth configuration up here, the lines, the 4 and the 6. So for the 27, here it is. You've got the first line, that's a harmony with the 4, the 1 and the 4 go together, the 2 and the 5 and the 3 and the 6. And what it says is the role of self-provider or coveter. And so you are really here to look after yourself first and then others. So you can self-provide. You can be the authority of how to look after yourself. And then you can look. So this is really the epitome of put your own mask on first.
Yeah.
And then help the others, right? This is you. So anyone with a line 1, 2, 3, it's all about first you look after yourself. Then from that, you can look after others. And then anyone with the line 4, 5, or 6, it's you'll look after others first, which can be a little bit dangerous because you can deplete yourself and then look after yourself. So this first lines are always investigating. How do I best provide for myself? Always in, studying, investigating, and then you can be this authority of yourself and nourish yourself. If you couldn't provide for yourself there, you would be a coveter then. And that'll always be there in the background. Ooh, what do they have? Oh, I kind of like that, right? It's very motivating, right? So after your investigation, you can really know how to care for yourself. And then the gate 50, you have twice in your chart, and this is the values, right? If we are going to survive as a species, we have to have certain laws, certain values, right? This is the gate of the guardian. These are the laws and the values that we're going to be, that are there to allow us to survive. This is about responsibility, to be responsible or not. And so here you've got it twice in your chart. You've got the 4th line here, and you've got the 5th line as well. The 4th line is you have this intuition for, it's called corruption, and it's not negative. It's actually what values and laws, it's very mutative, need to be changed, need to be corrected, right? Hey, wait a minute, the punishment doesn't fit the crime here. This isn't right, right? So think about the old law: someone stole, you cut off their hand, right? Then you got a 5-year-old who's starving. That law needs to be corrupted. That's not, that the punishment doesn't fit. They stole a loaf of bread, like it doesn't match, right? We need to corrupt, we need to change that law. And so it really is about law breaking, but in a very positive way. The fifth line is this taste for discipline and rebellion. It's more collective, it's social, but impersonal. And here it's about the collective. The fourth part, the corruption, is more within your own network, your own community. That's where you can corrupt them. The fifth then is externalizing out. Okay, these are the ones. It can be very moralistic. This is right and this is wrong. And this is what's going to allow us as a collective. Holding to this law is going to allow us to survive. So it's very much about everyone. And so you'll have both of these playing out. The 4 is going to be stronger because it's a resonance with the 4-6 in your profile in your sun earth at the top, but the 5 is there too. You know, this is the basis of, as a global community, the laws we need to look after ourselves. The other circuitry you have are these guys, this 26, this 45. So this is all in the logic circuitry, which we were talking about. So it's the collective logic. It's about perfecting, right? And this channel from the root up to the 18 to the splenic center is about the drive to correct. The drive to correct, right? What's wrong in our collective systems, our healthcare, our legal system, our education system, but it's looking for anything that needs correcting. And again, it's not personal. No, you squeeze the toothpaste from the bottom. I'm just trying to help you here, right? You do it this way. I'm just trying to help you here. If the other doesn't understand, you know, they're going to take it personally. It's going to drive them nuts. But once you understand that it's not personal, then it's like, okay, it has this beautiful benefit that it can give. Being in the experiment, you know, what really is the correct pattern? So this is a channel that can really judge. You have to watch that it you know, can really drive the perfectionist and can be self-judgmental. You have to watch for that as well. The 18, what I would say about that is anyone who has that, it's the Oedipus electric gate. So conditioning by the opposite sex parent. So really look at how your father, his caring patterns, and yeah, see how that might have been playing out in your life and what's really true for you and what's not. Yeah. The 48 here is the gate of depth. So now not only can you be aware of what needs to be corrected and have a drive there, you also have the depth, but it's unconscious, to bring solutions. And there's a fear that comes in here. It's the fear of inadequacy, the fear that you're not going to be able to find the solution to solve the problem. You are missing, though, the throat gate. So here you have all these solutions, but no way to express it out. And either a transit will come in or a person will come in. So really watch, it can be quite frustrating. Hey, I got the solutions here, but I can't, there's just no way to express it. So the timing will come when it's right. You know, it'll get expressed out when it's the time to get expressed out. The right person or the right transit field will come in at the right time for you. And it'll be just perfect with that. So lots of depth, you know, you've got lots of depth around things, and you can use that to serve and be that person that can help provide solutions. You've also got some tribal circuitry here. So this instinctive caring, that's more about our community, our, you know, how our social life operates and so on. But it's in an undefined center, so it's not consistent and reliable for you. You're going to get glimpses of it, you know, as it gets defined over time. And 26 is the gate of it's the gate of the egoist. It's tribal. We need people who can kind of sell things to move the tribe off their conservative butts, basically. Right? So caring requires a lot of willpower, right, in the community. And so this is a gate that can really be the big truth teller. It can also be the one that's just like exaggerating, telling the boss, oh, I've been working so hard, but it's off playing golf. But if the work gets done, it's all good. It's all good. It doesn't matter, right? The ego needs its rest, and it needs to be honored for that. So there can be denial of caring here because I'm tired. I just use my willpower and push through something. And when it's feeling good, energized, when that comes in, you can really use that energy to serve the community. And the 45, again, in an undefined center, it's not consistent and reliable, but this is the voice of that king queen. I have, I don't have, we don't have, we need to educate in this way. We need to let people know about this. You don't have to be the one bringing the resources together. You're not the 21. 45s always want to be 21s, and 21s always want to be 45s. So you don't need to control anything, but you can have that voice that articulates out and supports the bringing together, the gathering together. So it's really support for caring. So all of these things are kind of wind together, but look at this. You're 26 and you're 45 are your sun earth. Very important positions in your chart. So this having to take rest sometimes, but then being able to contribute to the tribe, your willpower, to the community, and express out, this is where we need some education here, people. Let me support you in bringing, this is what you're doing here, right? Let me bring in some experts and pull them together for you, these, so that you can be educated in a bigger way, gathering together, right?
I find it interesting that the 26 is undefined because, I quite often go into burnout because I give. Even though I know I have to put my oxygen mask on first to be able to give, it's not necessarily something that I always do. And then a classic was at Christmas, I gave myself a week off, but then people were needing client sessions. And so I was like, oh, well, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything. So I would slot them in. And then the first week of January, I got ill because the universe was like, yeah, you needed to take a week off. You ignored it.
There you go, right? The mind got involved, right? The mind said, no. But and you put it aside your self-caring and you paid the price.
Absolutely.
Right? So so you can kind of see how these play out, right? And the dilemmas that come in, and that voice you have of the fourth line, it's, I'm going to protect and I'm going to direct you to higher principles. The fourth line is very much about that, but fourth lines, I'm a 4-6 profile too in my sun earth. Fourth lines are very prone to burnout. You got to be really careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why I guess over the last 6 years, I've been sort of more focused on consciously working around self-care, self-love, sort of putting that's basically what the channeling has been. Put your oxygen mask on first and then assist other people. But it's been the focus coming more into that.
Yeah, you have nothing in the self-caring individual circuitry on this side. So it is a learning theme then for you. Learning about self-caring, learning about that self-love through correct response, through the logic, through the support that you give in the tribal circuitry. It'll come together then. Good.
Wow, fascinating. Oh, that wasn't quite as scary as I thought it was going to be.
Right. So what you'll probably see playing out sometimes though is that critic, right? The one who's judging. Oh no, it's better to do it this way. It's better to do it that way. Right? And if you're with an individual, they'll be like, did I ask you? Right. And so this is where the compassion and the acceptance comes in. So
absolutely. I mean, I will say that my journey has been control freak to control enthusiast.
Well, that is
stepping back on the whole perfectionist thing.
This is the gate of control, the 21, and because you have the other side, when the throat gets activated, very strong pull for you to take control. Guess what? You don't have to control anything.
No, that I have been learning from the universe over the last few years.
Yes. All right. So good. Um, yeah. So do you want to go into the other ones? Do you want me to talk about the program? What would you like to do first?
Yeah, so before we just do the mini readings on the other people, I think this is a really good time to, if people have been excited by your kind of deep dive into those aspects of my chart, if you want to speak to the special offer that you have uh, devised, brought through, and are sharing with the community this season, because it just looks absolutely fabulous in terms of the amount that of information and the deep dives that people are going to get a chance to go into, even if they just take the workshop aspect and not the combined workshop and individual session. So if you want to speak to the special offer, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. So what I'm going to offer, first of all, there's 3 workshops. And this is where we can really get in and understand all these different circuitries in a bigger way. I gave you a bit of an overview today, but we're going to gather on Zoom. I'm going to have your charts there too. So we'll talk about all the qualities and characteristics in those. In the first one, I'll concentrate more on that 2750, that genetic imperative that's there for you. In a deeper way, and then we'll look at your charts and see how each of you are wired. And it's so great to come together, because when you start to see other charts and really get it and hear them, people talking about how it's played out for them, it just again brings that acceptance and compassion, and you can let go of places in your life where maybe you didn't get cared for the way that you thought you should have. Um, and then the second workshop will go into these different circuits and talk about, more about the tribal and the individual, and what are these really about and what's showing up in your chart. And again, well, there's time for discussion in there, really getting a good understanding of how you are wired to care and where your learning themes are as well in your chart. And you'll be getting your chart, like what I show, I always annotate them in the presentation that we do with the PowerPoint that I put together for you. And I'll send you, your individual charts as well, so that you have that information. And then the third workshop, well, we have, I mean, we have hurts and we have wounds and places where we weren't in acceptance of another, or we weren't cared for the way we thought we should have been. And so this one is actually a releasing and healing workshop, where I'm working with the beings that I work with, and with the nature energies and the crystals and the plant kingdom beings, to channel in energies to support you in releasing energies around those wounds, and just coming into a beautiful acceptance of your own wiring. And yeah, acceptance in general. There's a real grace in that. So of course you'll all get the PDFs of your body graph. For those of you that have not been through, I know some people went through the intimacy and sexuality, and I did a little intro to human design for them. So I'll give you access to that as well, so that again, what I went through at the beginning, it's just a little bit more information so you can understand the chart more easily. And then the second package, it's everything, all the 3 of the workshops, but then it's a private session with me as well. And that's where I'll add in the additional information on your availability for caring from that sacral center, like I did with Louise. I'll pull all that information together, because there's a lot of information, right? So now we've got time one-on-one to be targeted, and you can ask any questions that maybe you didn't want to ask in a group. We can talk about some of the dilemmas that come up. And also I'm going to do a little mini healing with you there. So I'll be tuning into your higher self to just see what's coming through as a wound that needs to be cleared, that's sitting in your energy field. And we'll do that clearing as well to support you. And yeah, that's the 2 packages. So even if, for doing the chart, I do need your birth information. If you don't have the time, sometimes it's okay. I just run the chart for few times over the day. Sometimes the chart really changes a lot in the day, and other times it doesn't change much at all. So you can always do the workshop part if you like, because it's still so valuable, and I'll let you know what information is consistent in your chart. But you can also, send me an email with your birth information. I'll just take a look at it and see if it's worthwhile even doing the private session or not. If there's just too many unknowns that it's not worthwhile doing. I don't want you to invest in something that's not going to give you the information that's really needed. Okay. So there'll be an intake form as well, where I get your birth information, but I'm also going to give you a little some probing questions about, how has carrying played out for you? Where are your wounds? What do you want to establish around caring for yourself? And that'll just start the energies moving as well to support you. Yeah.
Excellent, fabulous. And as you can see, the special offer package is massively reduced in relation to the actual value of each of the individual sessions. So extremely generous. So thank you, Margo, for putting that together for the audience. That's really wonderful.
You're welcome.
So I'm aware of the time, but we have got a number of people who prior to the this live call provided their personal details for a little mini reading. One aspect I think you're going to go through. So yeah, if you wanted to go through that.
Sure. Yeah. So Tiziana, for you are a generator. So again, wait to respond, but you're also emotional. So you need to allow the emotional wave to pass through before you make any decisions. At minimum, sleep on any decisions that you make. But sometimes you just need to wait until you're emotionally neutral, and your energy is valuable, so people will work for it. Here's someone that's got both of those genetic imperatives. Right? Very intimate, hoovering. People will just be drawn to telling you things about themselves. You're like, why are they telling me these things? Because you pull it out of them. And some people won't like you for that. But on this side, you've got the full channel again. So you also engender this natural trust and pulling people together. 27th gate here. You've got the second line, and this is the role of nourisher depleter, where the first line, like Louise, is investigative. How do I provide for myself? You're a natural. You either naturally know how to care for yourself, it's how to nourish yourself, it's just built in to your wiring. And if you really somehow don't know, you can actually really deplete the other. It's like that child that's always pulling, and you won't even realize you're doing it. So it's just something to be aware of. But yeah, generally it can be very much this natural talent for nourishing yourself. And again, looking after yourself first before others. The 50th is on the other side. You've got the second line here twice in your chart, and it's defined, so it's consistent and reliable for you. And this is the instinct for determination or not, it's called. You have this natural instinct. Remember, this 50 is intelligence, the root of intelligence. So a natural instinct for who's very determined in giving caring and also in getting caring. It's just something that you're wired to know. Oh yeah, that person, they're the one who's really determined in giving, in being very caring. Ooh, that person's very determined in getting caring. And they're going to do it, and you're going to know, and whether that's, something that you want to put energy into or not. This also is this second line in the 27. This is like, it can be, again, the great nourisher, like the Mother Teresa looking after people. And by that, knowing who's determined and who's not, you can know who to put your attention onto when it's time to be externalizing that nourishing. Maria and Jenny, you guys are both open here. But because these are genetic rules built in, I then look to your profile for your Sun Earth. So the second line and the fourth line, both of you have it. Maria, you're a generator, wait to respond. And your sacral response will be your yes, no. And the second line here in the 27, again, it's just what I was talking about for Tiziana. It's the role of nourisher or depleter. Both sides can play out. It's natural to you. You don't need to study how to nourish yourself. It's just built in. And again, if you don't, you're going to be very depleting on others. And the fourth line is the role of benefactor dependent. And so you can be, this is externalizing. You can be very generous to others, be their benefactor in your network. Fourth lines are always about their network. And there's something that you'll get out of being that. Or you can end up being the dependent of a benefactor. You know, it's like the artist and their benefactor, right? Both sides could play out there for you. In the 50th gate, the role that you're going to have here, the specific intelligence that comes through is the instinct for determination or not, just like I talked about with Tijana again, knowing who's determined and who's not. But you've also got that fourth line, like Louise, that intuition for corruption or not. What values need to be shifted, need to be mutated? They need to be corrupted. They're not correct anymore. And you have a real intuition for that. So both of you have that. The rest, well, Maria, you've got all sorts of different things going on here, very complex. Jenny, very tribal. Wow, that mutual support. You got to make sure that the bargains in your life are correct, that what you give, you get equal in response. And you might have a hard time articulating yourself too. Touch is going to be really important for you. But again, 2-4 profile, same as Maria there. Okay, Christy, you have, again, it's open. So I go to your profile, 5 and the 1. So the role here is distributor hoarder. This is, you can be very good when you have the resources of knowing how to distribute them globally. You know, works with strangers. That's who you're more influential actually with stranger than family. Family and friends, you might have noticed that in your life. That's true for you. And if you don't have anything, you're going to want to kind of hoard, because if you don't have anything to distribute, you need to be taking in. Okay, so it's not a negative thing. You've also got the first line though on the body side. So there's also going to be something in you that's saying, I got to provide for myself. Look after myself first, then look after others. Okay, it's unconscious, but it is there. It's on your unconscious red side. Okay, and as you figure that out, you can again be a real authority on how to look after yourself, and then from that can look after others. So you've got these two sides that are playing out. The conscious knows about kind of hoarding and distributing, but the unconscious saying, look after myself, look after yourself, learn about that. Okay, so there's always going to be this balancing act going on for you. On the 50th gate, the genetic roles here, that taste for discipline and rebellion. So here, who is disciplined and who is not? And what values are you disciplined in sticking to, and what is being rebelled against? And you have an instinct also if someone else is very disciplined in sticking to the laws, or if they're going to rebel against them. You've also got an instinct for weakness and strength in caring, right? Who's weak and needs to be cared for? It could also play out as, oh, we need to make sure the strong stay strong. Right? You see that in the animal kingdom, right? Sometimes the weakest one is the mom has an instinct for not going to make it. I don't want to use my resources on that weak one. Okay, so you have a natural instinct for that. Claire. So Claire, you don't have the, again, consistent and reliable here, availability for caring and splenic intelligence, no 27. So I go to your profile, the 3 and the 5, which we haven't seen before. So the 3, this is the role of bonds made and broken. So you're not someone who can be on in caring all the time. You can't care forever, right? The bond's made and then the bond has to be broken, even within a relationship. Hi, honey, you know, okay, go off and do your own thing and then come back to each other. You got to look after yourself. And then you can look after others, but there's going to be some trial and error in figuring that out. Third lines go through a lot of trial and error too. Okay, I want to be the best mother. Okay, let's figure that out. Trial and error. And then, what happens if I stop? Like, it always wants to know. What are the different conditions here? And it's natural, it's healthy. So yeah, if you can't be there all the time, and just knowing that, if you have children, then it's just, there has to be another person there to take care of them. Sometimes you need to have that bond broken, and it's perfect. It's correct for you. You also have the fifth line, which is that distributor hoarder again, right? I got to take in, and when I got enough, then I can really universally distribute and be very, very good at that in the way that you distribute the caring, and you're very fair in how you do that. On the 50th, in gate 50, you've got the first line here. So the intelligence that you have is that instinct for weakness and strength again. Who's strong? Who's weak? Who needs to be cared for with respect to that? Where do the resources need to go? Yeah, very strong in your chart. All right. Regina. So here's our manifester, finally, one with an open solar plexus center. Let me just bring up my notes for her. Oops, better just make sure. Yeah, okay. Yes, so Regina's a manifester, open splenic center, or open sacral. So caring, she can't be consistent and reliable in that. It's going to get amplified when someone comes in that activates that in her chart, but otherwise, it's nothing to beat yourself up about. You need to have a good support team. You are splenic, though. The 27 is there when you get turned on, when your sacral center gets turned on by someone or a planetary transit that comes in with those energies. And the role you have is distributor and hoarder again, but without any 50. 50 is the regulator. So you could over distribute and not have anything left for yourself because there's no regulation on the 50 side there. There's still genetic, based on your profile, this taste for discipline and rebellion and this instinct for weakness and strength. But in terms of this caring way, really be careful about that you don't overgive. That could be a real issue here. And then Christy, I just wanted to throw this one in, Christy Lynn, because she's got the open solar plexus. So here, nothing in the 27. I would go to the 4 and the 6, which is exactly the same as Louise, the role of benefactor. The role of benefactor. And oh no, you had the 27, so it was different. Sorry. So for Christy, the 4 is the role of the benefactor and dependent, right? Can really be a benefactor if you have the resources in your family and your network. Otherwise, you're going to be dependent, and there has to be some give and take there. And the 6th line is the role of trusting or not. So again, you're naturally very trusting of others until they get really close to you. And if they break that trust, that is it forever. Done. The 50th you do have, but it's inconsistent and reliable. And that means it's, even though you can take responsibility, it's how much to take. You will probably take on more than your share. And then after you do that for a while, it's like, I don't want to take on any responsibility. Forget it. But what you're naturally wired for is you've got the 3rd line and intuition for partnership and dependency, right? Partnership means in some way we're dependent on the other and you want it to be equal, very important to you. And you have an intuition for when it's correct. And if someone becomes dependent, a 3rd line is going to go, I'm out of here. Bond's broken. Goodbye. Or it's got to be renegotiated, that partnership. And you also have the 4th line, intuition for corruption or not. Again, what values have to be broken. Okay. So that gives you guys a little bit of an insight into your charts, a first go round, but yeah, I hope that was helpful.
Jenny's just got a question. She said that hers is open. Does that mean that she's not caring? But I don't think that that's what it means. I think
no.
Open is just undefined.
Jenny, you have nope, yours is not open. pull that up again here. Can you see it?
Yeah,
the open channel here.
Yeah.
No, there's still the genetic wiring that I talked about based on the second line and the fourth line. So you do have the genetics, those traits that I was talking about. There is going to be kind of a learning theme around those for you, though. They're there, but because this is open, yeah, it's there, but it's going to take, it's there within your genetics. But the whole channel of, this being able to shepherd like someone like Louise can do, that's not in your field. That aura of pulling people together and engendering that trust in your caring, that's something that you're going to learn about, but it's not a frequency in your aura. The genetics of the 2 and the 4, though, and how they play out are there.
Okay, fabulous. Well, thank you, and thank you for going through so many people's, mini readings on so many people's charts. I mean, literally, if you do want to know more, if you do want to have a greater understanding, particularly from a personal perspective, then there is the package B that incorporates the workshops, where obviously you're going to be going through people's charts and going through these, what we've touched upon basically in this conversation, but in more specific arenas on people's charts who attend the workshops. But then if you want to go even further into a more individualized reading, then obviously there's package B, which incorporates the one-to-one session as well. I mean, from my perspective, the human design is an incredibly complex but very broad and deep understanding, because it incorporates all of the different aspects. It incorporates the I Ching, it incorporates the astrology, it incorporates all these different modalities that we can look at on an individual level, and they can be complex within themselves, but the human design kind of brings that all together, and so it's very kind of specific. And again, what I've experienced kind of coming to human design a bit later on in life is I can see how I've been, and I can see how my life is kind of, as I'm stepping more into my power, doing more of my spiritual work, I am being guided to come into my authenticity. And I can see that process unfolding. And so I can give real life examples of where, oh yeah, I used to behave in that way, or I used to perceive things in that way, and now things have shifted. And so I'm coming into more self-acceptance, radical self-acceptance, radical self-love, not feeling the need to be as the world is dictating we should care and love and support other people, and actually acknowledging, well, actually this is my way of being, and this is just who I am, and this is actually part of my mission. We talk about what's my mission, what's my purpose. And being on purpose is being true to yourself and being true to how you came here to be. It's not necessarily doing something specific, it's just being your true self and being your authentic self, which the more awareness we have of what our soul came in to do, the easier that is to actually fulfill. I am aware of the time and how long we've been talking. I'm just consciously aware of the upload time that it takes to upload videos, but we could talk for hours and hours. But is there anything that we haven't covered, or anything that you really want to reiterate about this topic, that you want to kind of leave the conversation on? I don't think that we have time to take any individual questions, because you've gone through so many people's individual charts. But yeah, if there's any closing topics.
Yeah, I think it's really just it's all about what you just said, coming into this understanding of yourself. You don't have to be what you're not, and that actually is how you fulfill your purpose, is by just living as yourself. That's something we say in human design. Your purpose will be fulfilled. Follow your strategy and authority, understand your wiring, do the work to let go of those not self aspects and transmute them into something that is supportive for you and aligned with the truth of who you be. And yeah, you're all beautiful individual beings, thank you so much for being here with us today. If there's, other just quick general questions, you can always reach out to me by email. That's fine. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. I mean, one of the things that I will say is kind of hearing that in my chart, it is about responding. It's not necessarily responding to someone or something out there. I respond a lot to what spirit guides me. I respond to what I'm being channeled or guided to do. And so that, and for me, is also allowing that wider perspective of responding. I act in response to what spirit is guiding me. So allow that to kind of open the conversation up even further for yourself internally as well. So we're not just looking at things from the external perspective, we're also talking about, what you're receiving internally as well. Thank you so much, Margo, for coming on at such short notice, for being completely divinely aligned and timed to take this slot. It's been absolutely amazing. I've absolutely loved this conversation, extremely informative. I trust that I will have soaked up and received exactly the perfect message and awareness for myself. But I also know that I will probably have to listen back a few times to get the whole gamut of information that's been shared. And again, for everybody else with all of these conversations, we listen once and we get the perfect message in that moment. If we listen again and again, we might hear something that, we completely missed on the first round, or we might get it to a deeper understanding and a deeper level. I'm excited for all of those who engage with your special offer. Again, I think that it's extremely generous as always. Feel free to go onto the free gifts page or to click on the special offer link underneath Margo's picture on the upcoming calls page or the replay page. And also the details will be under the YouTube video. I think that the link to the free gifts page will be under there as well. Take a look, and if it feels aligned, yes, I'm excited for you if you engage with that. So thanks again, Margo. Many blessings to you.
Thank you.
And to everybody else, I shall see you again tomorrow for another live call. It's the penultimate live call, and it is with Raven Many Voices, and she will be bringing in the energies of the fairies this time. It was the dragons last time. Who knows? The dragons may come through again, but yeah, I'm excited for that conversation. And then we shall end with the rearranged conversation with Carrie. Unfortunately, she had technical issues and no internet the other day, so we've rescheduled that call. So much love to everybody. Thank you so much for everybody who attended live, and I shall see you all again tomorrow. Bye. Take care, everybody.